Evolution. It's not a scientific law or a law of biology. A scientific law must be 100% correct. Failure to meet only one challenge proves the law is wrong. This video will prove that the theory of evolution fails many challenges, not simply one. The theory of evolution will never become a law of science because it has many errors. This is why it is still called a theory. The process of natural selection is not an evolutionary process. DNA proves that evolution is false. The DNA in plants and animals allows selective breeding to achieve desired results. Dogs are a good example of selective breeding. The DNA in all dogs has many recessive traits. A desired trait can be produced in dogs by selecting dogs with a particular trait to produce offspring with that trait. This specialized selective breeding can continue for generation after generation until a breed of dog is developed. Many different types of dogs can be developed this way, but they can never develop a cat by selective breeding dogs. Natural selection can never extend outside of the DNA limit. DNA cannot be changed into a new species by natural selection. The same process of selective breeding is done with flowers, fruits and vegetables. New variations of the species are possible, but a new species has never been developed by science. In fact, the most modern laboratories are unable to produce a left-hand protein as found in humans and animals. Evolutionists fail to admit that no species has ever been proven to have evolved in any way. If natural selection were true, Eskimos would have fur to keep them warm, but they don't. Humans in the tropics would have silver, reflective skin to help them keep cool, but they don't.
Legs grow sturdier and animals become land-water creatures called amphibians. Other creatures, emerging from the waters, make the land their home, become reptiles and grow scales, such as these.
Evolution is scientifically impossible. Evolution is a theory developed 140 years ago by Charles Darwin, actually by his grandfather before Charles was even born. At that time, science did not have evidence available to prove the theory false. His famous book on the origin of species by means of natural selection has a title that is now known to be scientifically false. Life did not start with a bolt of lightning striking a pond of water, as claimed by the mainstream scientists. Kids are taught that life can evolve given enough time. This is a false statement without any scientific support. Time does not make impossible things possible. As an example, a computer was programmed in an attempt to arrive at a simple 26-letter alphabet. After 35 trillion attempts, it has only arrived at 14 letters correctly. The educational system teaches children not to think. Any student who uses logic and solid scientific evidence to question the theory of evolution is ridiculed and insulted into submission. Children are brainwashed by teaching them there is no absolute right or wrong. This results in children who are unable to think logically and scientifically. The evolutionist will claim that the presence of many individual species proves evolution. This shallow statement is devoid of reason, logic and scientific proof. Evolutionists line up pictures of similar-looking species and claim they evolved one from another. The human family tree is an example of this flawed theory. Petrified skulls and bones exist from hundreds of species of extinct monkeys and apes. Evolutionists line up the most promising choices to present a gradual progression from monkey to modern man. They simply fill in the big gaps with make-believe creatures to fit the picture. This procedure can be done with humans only because there are many extinct monkeys and ape species. They never do this with tigers or elephants or any other animal. Darwin admitted that fossils of the transitional links between species would have to be found in order to prove his theory. Well, these transitional links have never been found. We only find individual species. Let me show you what happens when you ask one of the crazy evolutionists to explain evolution.
Living things evolve, living things change, but not that fast. Now here's a dam that humans put here, and over here is a fish ladder. And here's the idea. fish can swim from step to step and get up the ladder and get up past the dam. Do you see what I'm saying? But do you see one fish? One big salmon over there? I mean, salmon are big. You see one? Not one. I mean, salmon are like this. You think I'm telling you fish story? No, they're big fish. If they were over there, you'd notice them. And some people say the sea lions are eating them. Well, the sea lions might eat a few fish. Maybe they eat a lot of fish. But they don't eat this many fish. I mean, it's a lot of fish that aren't getting past the dam. They aren't getting up to see this fish ladder because humans have changed their environment. Humans have let silt come downstream, chemicals get in the water, they dam the stream up altogether so the salmon can't swim past. And you know what else? It's not one person, millions and millions of humans slowly degrading the streams, made the environment not so good. So you got no salmon. You know what I'm saying? Because humans have changed the environment. Now, a fish could adapt. It could evolve, but it would take millions and millions of years. It's not going to happen in 100 years. It's not going to happen in a weekend. It takes a long time. Humans have changed the environment faster than most living things can keep up.
I think evolution is in trouble. Let's look at some other facts. The living fossil fish proves evolution is wrong. This fish was claimed to be a transitional form with half-formed legs and primitive lungs, ready to transition onto land. This myth was exploded in December 1938, when a living one was caught in a fisherman's net off the eastern coast of South Africa. It is now known that the natives of Comoro Island had been catching and eating the fish for years. It did not have half-formed legs or primitive lungs. It was simply a regular fish that people thought was extinct. Single-cell complexity proves evolution is wrong. Scientists a century ago believed the smallest single living cell was a simple life form. The theory developed that perhaps lightning struck a pond of water, causing several molecules to combine in a random way, which by chance resulted in a living cell. The cell then divided and evolved into higher life forms. This view is now proven to be immature to the degree of being ridiculous. The theory of evolution claims that organic life was created from inorganic matter. That is impossible.
The conclusion that Darwin reached, and I think many naturalists reach naturally, is that we're all to have a common ancestor. We're all descended from the same thing,
right,
whatever that thing is. And people will throw out the word single-celled organism, archaea, well, something like this. But there's no evidence on Earth so far that there's any other way to do it except with DNA. So the thing that is fascinating is Charles Darwin wrote this book where he has the theory and the experiments. He was quite a diligent experimental in one volume. And he didn't know about DNA.
Yes.
He didn't know about genes as such, genetics. He didn't know what we think of as genes. Didn't know chromosomes, really. He just was like jamming, looking at his collections and reaching amazing conclusions, world-changing conclusions. Got to respect that.
Which have since been confirmed
via every
DNA
which way.
and
every which way.
Chromosomes and genes.
DNA error checking proves evolution is wrong. The DNA repair process proves that evolution is wrong. It's a fact that any attempt by the DNA to change is stopped and reversed. Mutations, or DNA replication errors, are the result of DNA that is replicated with damage that passes on to the offspring. Mutations are very rare because of DNA checking and repair. However, 1 in every 10 million duplications of a DNA molecule can result in a mutation. The mutation changes are random, unpredictable errors that cause crippling diseases, loss of function, and the destruction of the host person or animal. Mutations destroy the species. They do not improve the species. Mutations never lead to a new species as falsely claimed by evolutionists. Order out of chaos proves evolution is wrong. The second law of thermodynamics proves that organization cannot flow from chaos. Complex life organisms cannot rearrange themselves into an organism of a higher form. This is scientifically backwards according to the second law of thermodynamics, which has never been proven wrong. This scientific law actually refutes and contradicts the theory of evolution in its entirety. Chromosome count proves evolution is wrong. There is no scientific evidence that a species can change the number of chromosomes within the DNA. Each species is locked into its chromosome count that cannot be changed. If an animal developed an extra chromosome or lost a chromosome because of some deformity, it could not successfully mate. The defect could not be passed along to the next generation. Evolutionists just throw up their hands at the question of the origin of matter because they know something cannot evolve from nothing. They stick their hands in the sand and ignore the problem. The Big Bang Theory doesn't solve the problem either. Matter and energy have to come from somewhere.
The following is a baffling conundrum to the evolutionist. Purposed and directed information exchange, orchestrating specific and intended functioning within a cell, is continuously conducted within the human genome and the DNA-RNA functions that make up the human genome. As you probably know, the genome is the complete set of genetic material for any given living organism. The human genome is about 3 gigabases long, which boils down to 750 megabytes. This is about the same code amount that is found in the total of 3 Mozilla browsers. The language of DNA is digital, but it is not binary code like a computer. Where binary encoding has zeros and ones to work with, DNA has 4 positions, T, C, G, and A. These letters are used to represent the 4 informational nucleotide bases of a DNA strand. Whereas a digital byte is almost 8 binary digits, a DNA byte, called a codon, has 3 digits. Because each digit can have 4 values instead of 2, a DNA codon has 64 possible values, compared to a binary byte which has 256. When you take into account that all 20+ million species of known life and each of their subsystems and sub-subsystems are all produced within this 64-value coding language, you can see the amazing efficiency level at which the genome works. Of the 20,000 to 30,000 genes now thought to make up the human genome, most cells actually express only a very small part of the total information code. Which makes sense. A liver cell, for example, would have no need for the DNA code that makes up neurons. But since almost all the cells carry around a full copy of the genome, a system is needed to define out information that is not needed. And that is just how DNA works. Just like a computer program, the genetic code is full of if and end if statements. This is why stem cells are so hot right now. These cells have the ability to differentiate into everything. The code hasn't been defined out yet, so to speak. Stated more precisely, stem cells do not have everything turned on. Over the lifetime of the stem cell, during which time it may clone or fork many times, it specializes itself. Each specialization can be regarded as choosing a branch in a tree, in which it will ultimately and finally operate and specialize. Each stem cell can make or be induced to make decisions about its future. Each decision makes it more specialized. DNA is not simply a computer programming language, but as you have already seen, there are some startling analogies between DNA and computer code. We can view each cell as a CPU, or a central processing unit, running its own kernel. As you probably know, in computing, the kernel is the main component of most computer operating systems. It's a bridge between applications and the actual data processing done at the hardware level. So each cell has a copy of the entire kernel. But amazingly, each cell chooses to activate only the relevant parts, which modules or which driver it loads, so to speak. If a cell needs to do something or call a function, it calls up the right piece of the genome and transcribes it into RNA. The RNA is then translated into a sequence of amino acids. which together make up a protein for which the DNA coded. Now for the truly amazing part of the equation. This called up and coded protein is then tagged with a shipping address. This address is a marker consisting of several amino acids which tells the rest of the cell where this particular protein needs to be deployed. Once the protein arrives at its intended location, the delivery instruction is then stripped off and several post-processing steps are performed, activating the protein to now do its job. The protein is not activated until it arrives at its marked and intended location. The amazing and complex intelligent communication functions of DNA are myriad. They are too numerous to recount and explain in a short and simple video such as this. But the fact remains, purposed and directed information exchange is continuously conducted within the human genome and the DNA-RNA functions that make it up. Purposed and directed information exchange. You decide. Random, traumatically mutated, non-purposed, accidental evolution, or intelligent design? Any truly intelligent person knows the intelligent answer to that question.